Hey, what's up, guys? It's Brahman. I'm your favorite YouTuber here. It's been a long time since I've done an intro like that. I just reread the first 6 chapters of Liar Game, which, is not a lot compared to the 201 chapters that exist. Like, I read it out loud. Like, I actually recorded myself reading it, so I kind of have, like, my own audiobook version of it. And I'm actually surprised. It's not like, the masterpiece of fiction. But it's better than I thought it was. Not necessarily a lot better because, like, I remember it. Like Liar Game is one of my favorite franchises ever. In fact, it might be my favorite franchise ever. But like, it was really good. Like, I'm sorry, but it was really, really good. So, I'm not sure like how I want to do this, like, because I feel like I kind of have to talk about spoilers, but like on the off chance that people haven't actually read it, I'm gonna briefly talk about it without spoilers. So I think that this is actually a great first round for the Liar Game. Like if you're only going off of you've seen the anime trailer or whatever, or like you've heard people talk about how smart Akiyama is and Yukoya is or whatever, like Yukoya isn't in this. Yukoya doesn't show up until quite a bit into the manga, which is why everyone was freaking out if the anime was going to make it that far. But this first game is not like any of the other games because most of the other games, like including the entirety of Squid Game or Alice in Borderland, is that you're in this world. You're in the world of the Squid Game. You're in the world of Alice in Borderland. You're in the world of the Liar Game, and you're entirely at the mercy of the games. Like in the case of Liar Game, you're in a room. In the case of Squid Game, you're on an island and usually also in a room. In the case of Alice in Borderland, you're in a literal parallel universe and also kind of in a room. But you're sometimes, depending on what it is. But with the first round of the Liar Game, they're not in a room. In fact, they're like here in the real world. Like not this world, but like they're outside. Like they can do whatever they want. They can go to the park. They can do whatever. And this concept, like I'm trying to think of like how to spoil as little as possible. This concept, like when I think about it in hindsight as a Liar Game fan, I think to myself like this game's kind of dull compared to what comes next because like there's like it's too simple. There's not too much to exploit. But like rereading it, I was kind of surprised with how good it was because like the way that it breaks it down, like it's only 6 chapters, so it's not that long, but like it really like breaks down exactly why it's set up this way. And even though I keep telling myself like, well, if this happened in the real world, then you could just go to the cops and tell them what's going on. But then you just think about how useless the cops can be in the real world, and you think to yourself about a twist that comes later as to why the specific cop that it goes to might not actually be that helpful. But also, dang, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to spoil anything. I'm trying. But then also just like the idea that like, how would the cops react to a game like this? Like the game is literally you're given 100 million yen, which is about $1 million, and also is your opponent, and you're supposed to steal it. And it's like at the beginning of the game, they say like anything that you do will not be considered a crime as long as it's to get the money. And you're thinking to yourself like, well, like, but if I like break a window, like if I like stab my opponent, I don't think that it's going to easily slide by with the actual legal system. And the way that I've always interpreted it is that the Liar Game organization is not necessarily going to help you cover up your crimes, although they might. But they might also just be like, it'll be like, hey, we'll be watching you, but like, we won't tell anyone if you do anything, sort of thing. Because they straight up say like anything that you do to collect the money will not be considered a crime. But it's like, okay, but what if you actually do something really bad? But anyway, man, and then like okay, I'm not gonna spoil the ending just yet, but the twist at the end. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I first read the manga, I knew it was coming because there's a good setup at the beginning, and then it's paid off at the end. And so I'm not gonna lie, like when it happened, I literally remember like reading the manga and being like my mouth like fell open with excitement when I realized what was about to happen. And then like, and then it happens. And it was so long ago, like I can't remember how certain I was, but I like had a pretty good idea that this was gonna happen. And then as I reread it, I think it is better done than in the J drama. I only watched the K drama once, so I can't really go off of it. But in the J drama, they do kind of like edit it in a way to kind of like make you sort of realize what's gonna happen just before it's revealed. But in the manga, like when I was rereading it, I was thinking like, if it didn't click into me before, I think I would have been like completely blown away, because it does not like give you any moment. Like in the J drama, there's like a brief shot where like, you know, like something suspicious starts happening and the music goes a little bit weird, and I think like that's kind of the moment where like most viewers would realize, oh, okay, I think I got it. But in the manga, there's no shot like that. It's literally just like, oh my god, what has happened? Oh no, we're gonna lose. Oh dear. Oh wait, what? Oh what? Huh? So it's like, I'm trying my best to explain the sensation without actually giving anything away. But anyway, I think I'm gonna get into spoilers now. Point is, read this manga and do not think that this is it. There's so like, not so many, but like there have been times that I've literally like shown the J drama or I've shown the manga to people and they legit think that the first 6 chapters is what the entirety of the franchise is gonna be. It's not. The very last panel of chapter 6, which to be fair, like I don't mean to hype it up too much because you probably already know what it is, but like I remember like when I read it and like that last panel of chapter 6 was what like hooked me, and I was like, I can't wait to read more of this. Anyway, so yeah, go read the manga. Okay, I'm going to talk about spoilers now. Now, in terms of the last panel, obviously all it says is Liar Game, or directions to the Liar Game second round. But like that's crazy because like I don't know why, because like upon the reread I do realize that in chapter 1 when Neo's looking at the instructions, it does say like welcome in the first round of the Liar Game. So it does kind of like drop a hint that there's going to be more than this. But like for whatever reason, like I guess you just kind of forget about it because of how dramatic it gets. I honestly don't know. Like I saw a YouTube community post by someone, and it was saying like promoting Liar Game. I appreciated it. It only had like 2 likes. I gave it another like, so I don't like, you know, but and no comments or anything like that. But something that he mentioned is like there's no violence in this, so like you can enjoy this with the whole family. And I was saying to myself like, I'm not sure if I'd really call this family friendly, because Neo almost gets, you know, before Akiyama picks up 2 guys like trash bags. And there is, like, you know, violence in the Contraband game. Yokoya tells a player to punch another player before they start making violence prohibited in the later rounds. I once mentioned that to someone, and, like, you know, it's like, oh, like, did Yokoya's thing cause that new rule? Or was it, like, people complained about the violence of them in? I don't know. On mind games, no punching? I don't know. But, like... But like what happens is pretty dramatic, and I'm genuinely like curious how general viewers who don't know about the manga is gonna react to the stuff that happens here, because I feel like there's a lot of people who might have like watched movies or stuff like that has been like way darker than this, and like what happens is gonna be like, oh, whatever, what makes this so good. But it's just like, I don't know, like it really is just a matter of like, are you gonna let yourself get sucked into this story? Are you gonna let yourself like fathom the horror of like not only potentially being $1 million in debt, but also like being betrayed by someone who you really trusted, and someone who like actually like made you think that everything was going to be fine? Because like it is incredible how Fujisawa, when you first meet him, he seems like a sweetheart, and like it genuinely makes you wonder like what was going to happen if Neo didn't show up. Like what would have happened if everything happened exactly the same? Like maybe the Liar Game organization would have interfered in some way, but like what if Neo didn't go to apologize to Fujisawa? Or what? Because there's no real reason for her to go to apologize. She already called him, and then she felt the need to go in person to apologize. Like she could have just called again, or she could have realized that she doesn't really need to apologize, or that she kind of already did over the phone, or that is reasonable and stuff like that. Or she could have gone any moment later or any moment earlier. If she missed that call with Fujisawa, what would have happened? Because then she would have gone through the rest of the month completely unsuspicious, and then all of a sudden she's $1 million in debt. And to be fair, that is kind of how scamming works. You meet someone and they sound trustworthy, and they try to make themselves sound trustworthy, but then once you fall for it, they just vanish off the grid. They just like won't talk to you at all. Like all of that kindness, all of that love bombing before, nowhere to be found. They are just gone. And that is kind of how it seems Fujisawa was going to act. Like, Fujisawa was just going to be like, oh, whatever, you can't touch me, I'm a millionaire now. And it's, like, awful to think about. But, like, just, like, comparing Chapter 6 Fujisawa, like, until the end, to Chapter 1 Fujisawa is insane. Like, the way that he puts on this act of, oh, like, I'll help you, yeah, I'm a good person. And then, like, you know, at the end, when he's like fantasizing about what he's gonna do with that 100 million yen, $1 million, whatever, like, it's kind of awful. But like, also, like, you can't help but kind of feel sympathetic to him, mainly because Neo ended up feeling sympathetic to him. But like, you know, the fact that like, I'm not quite sure what he was talking about. He was talking about going to some organization and like making them beg for him to pay. Like, was he talking about his debt companies? Like, because to be fair, like, debt companies like are kind of known for being pricks, because like they're willing to like offer help or whatever, but then when it comes to time to actually like pay up, they kind of suck at it. But like, and then like for a moment I thought that he was saying that he was gonna like go to his previous job and like show off, which he probably was gonna do anyway. And then he starts talking about like, you know, like planning to go on a date with like multiple women and make them wait on me and stuff like that. Like, it's like it's like so awkward, because it's like I can understand why he would want to do that, especially considering like how horribly he was treated. But like, you know, he's throwing Neo under the bus, who's like an incredibly good person, and he just couldn't care less about her. Like, it's awful. And like, it's crazy to think about what would have happened if he succeeded. Like, I'm genuinely wondering if general audiences watching the anime, like, are they going to feel that? Are they going to feel what I felt? Like, it's just crazy. And then, of course, the ending. What's funny is that I completely forgot that Fujisawa calls the cops, and that's why Akiyama gets the other house. Like, in the K-drama, it's funny, because I distinctly remember that happens, is Neo and Akiyama, or Hawu-jin, whatever, are literally sitting in a car and just like, oh, sorry, Misty. I thought I slapped her paw, but I think I just slapped my phone in my pocket. But are literally just sitting in a car outside Fujisawa's house, and then the cops literally show up and tell them like, oh, hey, if you're on a date, can't just like move along. We've got a call about some suspicious people here. And they're just like, oh, yeah, we'll move. And then Akiyama literally just turns to Neo and is like, all right, it's not your shift anymore, so you can go. I'll just take the next watch. And I was just like, didn't the cops literally just ask you to move? Like, at the very least, you would expect that, like, they would, like, take off driving and then maybe come back. Like, I don't know. But, like, Akiyama literally just sits there in the car. Like, you would think that the cops would, like, stay there until they leave, or, like, you know, come right back if Fujisawa calls again an hour later and says that they're still there. But, like, anyway, did Fujisawa literally stay up, like, for 2 weeks straight, or, like, a month straight? Like, I don't think that's physically possible. I think you'd literally die of sleep deprivation. Like, it makes me think of The Long Walk, of that movie, where, like, that one guy was apparently able to walk while literally napping on another guy's shoulder. Like, is that possible? I don't know. But, I guess you just get sucked into it. But it didn't look like these guys had trained that much. Okay, anyway, we're not talking about The Long Walk. Neo forgives her teacher. Like what's funny is that, like, you know, you see in like comments, like, people will say like, oh, like, why is Neo like forgiving the teacher? He doesn't deserve to be forgiven. And like, that's what we all thought. Like, I thought that the first time. Like, I remember showing the J drama to my mom, and she thought that too. Like, literally when Neo went to go give the money back to Fujisawa, she's just like, oh, come on, don't do that. And I was like, come on, why? And she's just like, well, because he was gonna leave her in debt. But Neo does it anyway, and she becomes like the ultimate role model. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I feel tears coming up right now. But also, like, in the manga panel, like, when Neo like is literally crying, like, tears literally streaming down her face, as she tells Fujisawa, like, I'll give you this money, but please promise that you'll never say that humans can't be trusted ever again. Like, it's genuinely like tear jerking. Like, what's funny is, like, I just find it so funny that, like, us as Lara game fans, or Smart Character Debate fans, or whatever, are like, oh my god, we got to get to the contraband game, we got to get to the smuggling game, and we completely forget that, like, the very first arc is like kind of a masterpiece in its own right. Like, Lara game can almost stand on its own entirely based on this first arc. Of course, the mind games aren't at their peak yet, but I feel the message is. Like, I remember, like, when I got someone to actually read Liar Game and they only made it to chapter 7 or 8 or something, and then they fell off. And I mentioned to them, like, oh, hey, like, I gave a little speech at a church about how Liar Game, like, connects to the Christian faith through, like, forgiveness and stuff like that. And she was all like, well, how did you manage to connect it to the Christian faith? And I was like, come on, you at least made it to the end of the first arc. How did you, like, I don't know. But then again, a lot of Christians don't necessarily like talking about repentance and forgiveness, which is funny because it's the main bulk of their faith. But I don't know. But and then Akiyama, like Akiyama giving the money too, like it's crazy. And like it's funny because the J drama completely skips over Fujisawa's reaction to getting all the money, which to be fair, like you don't necessarily need it, but like in the manga it just says that like he just had his head down and was wailing and wouldn't look up at Neo even once. And yeah, he probably saw her as a literal goddess in that moment. Because, like, it's like, I'm trying to think of Fujisawa's headspace, but I don't think I can. Like, you get treated horribly by your job, you get fired, you get divorced, you lose custody over your kid, all because of stuff that isn't really your fault. And then you get sucked into this Liar Game. And then you force yourself to completely ignore the virtue of one of your former students so that you can just screw her over so that you can go and get revenge on literally everybody. And then you find out that after staying up for a month straight without any sleep, like, you realize that it was all for nothing and you just lost. And now you're 100 million yen in debt. And then that student comes over and says, here's all your money. Like, you just get to live life the way that you did. And like it's the same at the end of Revival Round 2, but it's like, yeah. Like Fujisawa was planning to just let her go die, and she saves him still. I tell people that like one of the main things about Liar Game is like it kind of teaches you to just kind of forgive people anyway, even if they don't deserve it. And it's like, yeah, because the thing is like it's not necessarily even that Fujisawa is going to treat Neo better from now on, because Fujisawa and Neo like are probably never going to interact again. It is funny because Liar Game, the last game, chapter 1, one of the NPCs asks Fukunaga, do you forgive Yokoya for all that he's done to you? And Fukunaga says like, whatever, I'm still mad at you guys. And I'm just kind of thinking like, yeah, like what if Neo just like showed up at Fujisawa's doorstep again? Like what would Fujisawa even say? Like would he kind of tell her to screw off, or would he feel like he owes everything to her? You know? I don't know. Anyway, I've ranted on about this long enough. I just kind of wanted to talk about this because I feel like this arc doesn't get nearly enough recognition. And like, Smart Character Debates just want to talk about the strategies and mind games that they completely forget about the message and moral of the whole thing. Like, man, like if people watch this anime and it doesn't portray the message well, or if they just don't see it, then like that's really on them, man. Anyway. Like, dislike, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.